Hi everybody, it's Kendrick from Providence Tarot, and I am going to be here to give you your daily dose for February 2nd. Some days I don't do the daily doses just because they're days of rest for me, and I just don't do them on those days. If you're new to the channel, hello, welcome. Definitely like, share, subscribe, check out the past videos that I've done. You know, go as far down the rabbit hole as you'd like. And, yeah, follow me on IG as well. My name is Providence Tarot there, and my personal account is NYC Kendrick. Let me see. I think I might want to adjust this a little bit. I was like, oh my god, my High Priestess t-shirt. But it's like, you know what that is. Right? Look, I got this. Right. Make a wish. Okay? Giving me hopes and wishes and dreams fulfilled. Anyway, let me just go ahead and get ready to shuffle these cards. I'm just gonna get into it. You know, these are general energy, so if something doesn't resonate, don't try to make it fit. And then also, you know, and whatever does resonate, you will know why it resonates. I don't have to force feed you anything, you know? And you don't have to force yourself to kind of like acquire a taste to what I'm saying. If it resonates, it resonates. And it doesn't have to be exactly what I'm saying for it to resonate, you know? It doesn't have to refer to exactly what's going on in your life for it to resonate. But when you hear that ding, 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 you know, you got yourself a winner. Child, this incense. Ooh, honey. All right, let me go ahead and cut these. And put them back together too, because I'm not doing the 3-stack. I'm going to do the, the Ascendant. And I'm probably going to put it in like 2 parts just because I feel as though this is going to be longer than just 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Pardon my coughing. If you know, you know. Okay, so we got the Queen of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. So some of you are feeling like, you know, you want to nurture your creativity as well as your responsibilities at the same time. Or you want to turn your responsibilities into something that you have fun with. You know, this is related to the 3 of Pentacles, and we all have responsibilities, right? And we all want to detach ourselves or remove ourselves because this is related to the 3rd, the 3 of Pentacles. And it's also related to the 3rd ray in some kind of way. So we're dealing with things that we are attached to that we wish we could escape from sometimes. And this is saying make time for it. Make time for the work, and definitely make time for the play. For the things that you are actually working towards and nurturing in those practical ways, that's bringing about the, you know, the tangible things in life that are also satisfying, because this is Capricorn, and that is I use, I consume. So you're doing the work for a reason. You know what I mean? It's time to appreciate why you do the work that you do career-wise and also in your life, you know? Not necessarily for other people, only if you love those people, right? That's why you do the work that you do for them, right? Or you do the things that you do for them. Also, it's talking about like being a little bit like smarter about how you prioritize your efforts and your time. You know what I mean? Because we want you to, at the end of the day, be able to celebrate yourself and the efforts that you put into what it is that is important to you. You know what I mean? And when you appreciate that, and when you find satisfaction in that, that's when you find wealth in your overall experience, and you see the wealth in yourself, right? Because of what you put into what it is that you do to get out of what you need and want out of life. really. You know, there's a sense of balance that needs to be achieved here with this Queen of Pentacles. It's Capricorn, but then it's also a little bit of Sagittarius, and Sagittarius being that nature of wanting, that instinct of wanting to experience something new. So you could be getting bored with the same old thing. So you have to show yourself something. You have to go somewhere and see some things that are different than what you are used to. You know what I mean? And you will find value in a new experience, which is actually a part of your responsibility to have new experiences so you can gain perspective from the things that you feel enslaved to in your everyday life, right? That being work, that being family, that being all of those things. You know what I mean? And it's time to regenerate yourself by experiencing something new that isn't just kind of like something that you have to do, right? Do something that you want to do, right? Because you're doing a lot of the stuff that you have to do, you know? Okay. So let's go ahead and look at what's in the center. Five of Cups. So the Five of Cups does talk about missed opportunities in love and also emotional experiences that bring about a sense of satisfaction. This is related to Venus, right? It's related to the fifth ray of consciousness. It's also related to Vulcan, wanting to make something, wanting to forge something, but it's almost kind of like with water. You can't do that unless you freeze it, you know what I mean? And you can't control someone's nature, and you can't control the nature of things. And if you are, you know, motivated or moved by it emotionally, then there is a lesson here for you to learn. There is something for you to be conscious of, and something for you to transmute and transform from just a feeling of lack or negativity or low vibrational emotional attachments that you have to things. You know what I mean? And why are you fighting this experience or this lesson? It's something that you actually can't fight. You just have to accept it. You know, regardless of how you feel, right? You have to accept it. You can feel how you want to feel, but then you also have to accept it. And that comes with, like, you know, healing from it, you know, getting over it. That's basically what this is. And this is also just kind of like being angry about having to get over it as well. You know what I mean? Let's see what's crossing you here. The King of Pentacles, right? So it could be like a Taurus. It could be a relationship that had meaning to you. Or it could just be like someone that you felt like brought something or added some kind of abundance to your life. Or it could be something. It could be a work experience. Or this could be how you saw yourself. And this could be like, you know, FOMO, fear of missing out. Or it could be like something that you felt like you deserved getting, you didn't get. You know, whatever that is. It does have to do with the past because it's Mars. It does have to do with the past because it's Scorpio. You know what I mean? Because we're coming from what rules the first house, and we're coming into what rules the 8th house as well. So you've gone through an experience, you've learned something, and you've related from it, right? But you're upset about what it is that you weren't able to do or weren't able to have, even though you know what the lesson is. You know what I mean? So, like, it's asking you to get over it. Because the challenge is the King of Pentacles, which is someone who thought something would never change, or someone who thought there was only one way to get something or to have something. You know what I mean? This King of Pentacles is 1/3 Aries, so it talks about, like, you know, being grateful for change, right? That's what the King of Pentacles also teaches you. Right? Even though the King of Pentacles is fixed, it's 1/3 cardinal. So it does appreciate change. You know, change is actually very good. You know, and that's why the fire is there, because it's 1/3 Aries. You know what I mean? But that's behind you, you know? So it does talk about something, you know, accepting something that you can't change, actually. And the King of Pentacles does have that, you know, maturity to understand that, right? And also, it's like, stop trying to identify with something or an experience that isn't authentic, that isn't authentically you. You know, it wouldn't be something that was meant to be anyway. because the reasons for having it were because it was validating you somewhat emotionally, yes? Or, you know, it validated some sense of status or power that you felt like you needed, you wanted, or that you would have had, or that you would have been seen as having, you know? In the past experiences here, we have the Ten of Swords, which is actually Sun and Gemini. And Sun and Gemini does talk about paying attention to things, right? Also looking at all of the details, right, of a situation. You know, all of the details have been covered. You know, something has been covered, you know, and I don't mean hidden. I mean like done. All the bases have been covered, you know. Something has lived out its, you know, karmic timing or whatever that is, you know, because it's a 10, so it's related to the 10th house of Capricorn, which is talking about, you know, challenges, obstacles, right? Things that get in your way or that restrict you, right? Or pressure that is put on you. Yeah, so there might have been some pressure that was put on you in the past, psychologically, mentally, that type of thing. And that's over, so it's good. You know what I mean? You need to make peace with that. You know, and there are going to be lessons that you are learning as you continue to grow and get older that are going to be referencing past experiences that are over, right? But sometimes you have sudden realizations in the future, right? You're not able to see all of the details in the moment, you know? And that'll only make sense in the future, right? This is hindsight as well, right? So you need to be patient too. So that's what this is talking about, right? Hold your horses. Because the Ten of Swords is like wanting to move quickly but can't. Not done, you know? So put something behind you. Realize that something served its purpose. Okay? And also realizing that it may not be the right time for something. Whatever that is for you. That could be anything. It could be an object, a person, a place or thing, travel, anything. That's what you realized. For some of you, you knew. For some of you, it may have been a surprise. For some of you, you kind of like have been toiling with it, you know, over an extended period of time, going in and out. Oh, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. You know, that type of thing. But just put it to rest right now, you know. And this is related to that Mercury retrograde as well, right? It's time for you to stop thinking about something too. And just give it a rest right now for the Mercury retrograde, I would say. Okay, so we're going to look at the sun position here. Wow, the High Priest, which is actually number 5, which is actually ruling this 5 of Cups here. So that's what the focus is on. That's what the attention is on. And the High Priest being in the sun position is actually really great because it does have that sun there. And the 5th house is ruled by the sun, right? Okay. So we're dealing with like Venus. We're dealing with the sun, right? We're also dealing with the moon, the sun and the moon, okay? And Venus, right? So that's kind of almost like a trifecta. It's inner work that's happening. You know, those are inner planets here with the High Priest, which is actually really the Hierophant. You know what I mean? So we're thinking about that. The lessons that we learn from ourselves as we go through life, experiencing the challenges that were meant for us because we are us. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing, right? So there's something for you to learn from what you are going through, right? On a personal level. Take everybody else out of it, right? You know what I mean? So we're going to get into the second part. Okay, right. So we're talking about those challenges that we experience, the things that we thought would never change, or the things that we want to change that just haven't yet. You know, because there might be something there that we're not seeing because we're not willing, 5th house sun, Leo, to see it, right? The inner ear, the eye of the bull, the Taurus. What are you seeing on the outside and the inside? It's the outer world and the inner world. And if they are matching up, if they are meeting up, are they connecting? Is there a synergy going on between those two things? Yes, there always is. But the challenge is always going to be deep inside and within, at the core of you, the heart of you, you know? It also is that instinct, that primitive nature of wanting to attain something, you know? And it's also kind of like the misconceptions that we have when we don't live up to an expectation that might actually just be a standardized status quo, or a kind of like generic sensibility, or a generic attachment that we have to living life, right? That type of thing. There is a generic ideal sometimes because people would rather do what they know is safe, or, you know, stay with what they know is safe, or what they just know that may not actually even be safe because that's what they're not willing to see. You know what I mean? Oh my God. So yes, right? It's a new way of being. Like, it's saying that you can change. It's saying that you yourself were meant to actually change and evolve. You're still you, you know what I mean? You're still going to be who you are when you develop into a more mature version of yourself, right? Because you still have your lessons and your memories attached, right? You do have, like, there's certain traditions, right, that will stick. And that's what the high priest or the Hierophant is talking about, right? Yeah. You know, because sometimes there are certain traditions that need to change, which are really just habits, right? You know what I mean? And it also is like ceremonial order, too. Which the high priest and the Hierophant is talking about religion. You know, so if you're praying, if you're doing any sort of like mantra or anything like that, like, do you actually have a connection to a higher power? And, you know, how often do you connect with that higher power or that source of energy, right? Because it's something that you can't see, but it's something that you can feel. It is actually really something you can see in everything, especially if it's something that's like not man-made, right? If it's nature, if it's man itself, but not something that is man-made, right? Oh my God. So anyway, we're looking at ways of being authentic, right? Your life is always constantly being authenticated. It's like, you can't be like, oh my God, like, I'm 25 and this is just how I am. It's like, you really want and you are going to settle for being that way for the rest of your life? So your life is always being authenticated. You are always developing and you are always changing. But there are certain harsh lessons that come with developing and with changing and with maturing, because like maturity would have to come from somewhere that, you know, was that felt oppressive, you know, because it also has to do with time. Okay, and the amount of attention that you give to yourself, right? Because, you know, sometimes we could be getting in our own way and we won't even realize it until years later, and then we regret the fact that we weren't able to develop into a higher-minded person earlier, so that we would be on an even higher level at the time that we realized that we wanted to learn the lesson a little bit earlier than we did. You know? Okay, so anyway, let's look at this moon. 2 of Cups. All right. So that is, look, as I grab mine. So this is good because it's like in the moon position, right? And the Two of Cups is talking about the fear of reflecting, or the fear of other people, maybe like knowing what your insecurities are, that type of thing, you know? It's like, it's also a 2, so it's still related to that second house of Taurus, you know? Just like the High Priestess would be, you know? But it's not necessarily related to the 5th house of Leo, so we're gonna take that out. So it's not necessarily about the self anymore on a egoic level. It's on a more spiritual level, you know, because it's dealing with things it's sacrifice. It's, you know, bending to your insecurities or your vulnerabilities, reflecting on those things. And it's kind of like trying to achieve a sense of balance that kind of like you have to always constantly feed or restore, you know? So it's almost like having to constantly reassure someone who might be insecure or vulnerable about something, right? It could be having to reassure someone or having to be reassured of something financially or something emotionally, right? There is a sense of intimidation here, but because there's a sense of like balance that needs and wants to be achieved. You know, there's a sense of satisfaction that feels like it is deserved from the Two of Cups, okay? Because it's about like the amount of consideration, right? To the details of what is needed, okay, in like a nurturing type of way. Like, I feel like I'm giving what you need, so why do I feel like I'm not getting what I need, or something like that. Or some of you might be feeling like you're doing the damn thing, but you don't feel like the damn thing is doing for you. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's like that sometimes. But the Two of Cups is also like the beauty of being able to express yourself, right? So that's what we're getting into as well. The beauty of being able to express yourself and what that means. You know, it could be like how you dress, right? That's a form of self-expression. You know, if you sing, if you rap, if you write, if you paint, if you make clothes, you know what I mean? That's a form of self-expression, you know? Even relating to people, right? So that's why the 2s are very pure, because it has to do with like me and you, right? And trying to achieve balance, or like trying to like, you know, connecting the inner world and the outer world, you know? So that's why the Two of Cups is like relating to someone on an emotional level, right? And we can relate to each other on emotional levels that are nonverbal. So it's kind of like that's why art is so important, because, you know, some art is verbal, but it's not like feeding you the definition of what what connection you have to have with it. It's almost like you discover the connection that you have when you are escaped or expanded in the moment, right, of the music or of the art piece or of the song or whatever it is. It connects in that moment. It's not like when you listen to this song, this is what you're gonna feel and this is what you're supposed to think. It's not like that. You know what I mean? So it is the beauty of just having things happen to you as you are going through, you know, the experience. It's a give and take, right? That's basically what it's saying. Oh my God, what am I saying? But so yeah, creativity, you know, it's a give and take. You know, people will be able to relate to you on a nonverbal level, especially if you're an artist out there, especially if you're somebody that puts content out there on like social media, or even if you're someone that performs live, or if you're someone that kind of is trying to teach other artists how to be more authentically themselves as they're doing what it is that they do. You know, it's the power of emotional authenticity, okay, with the Two of Cups here, right? And it's also kind of like how art helps regenerate our spirit, you know, and it is a source of energy, right? That can't be touched and it can't be taken away. That's why you have things like Negro spirituals and things like that, because that's not something that anybody can necessarily take away from you. And it is a divine source of inspiration, which is art. You know, it's colors, right? It's sounds, it's food, you know, that type of thing. You know, maybe some of you need to do more of that. Show your love in different kind of ways, you know, and that's what the Two of Cups is talking about too. If you don't cook, then maybe you need to start doing that for the people that like wouldn't expect it. You know what I mean? Or maybe you need to change something in your house. Maybe you need to paint some walls. Maybe you need to get that new rug. Maybe you need to get that new sofa. Maybe you need to get that new thing that is going to just kind of like add to the like atmosphere of the space and just kind of inspire you, and then it'll just change your mood. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like looking for different ways to change your mood that are accessible. You know, it's not that hard sometimes. And it also talks about emotional accessibility, right? Are you closed off emotionally or are you open? You know, it's your choice, right? So you may not feel like you want to talk about something right now, or you might be ready, you know? So it's either one or the other for you. For some of you guys and gals. But the Two of Cups is kind of like, how are you relating to your inner beauty? Okay? And how is your inner beauty being projected outwardly? I'm going to leave it there. Four of Swords. Okay, so this is kind of like in the anxieties position. And when I look at this reading, if there were a Saturn position, it would probably be this one, right? But it's not called that. So, you know, this is talking about what might be needed. You might be feeling the pressure of isolation, but, you know, you have to make use of your time during that isolation or during those moments that you spend with yourself, because that's very powerful, right? Think of all of the different, you know, how many people are, you know, pulling at your phone. They're texting you. They're reaching out to you. They want you to work on this day. They want you to switch, you know, shifts with somebody on this day. All this stuff, you know. And it's kind of like when you do have that time to yourself to sit and think, what are you thinking about? What do you want? You know what I mean? And is it time for you to change your pattern of thinking, which is keeping you, you know, it's like your ideas might be formed from all of your experiences and your relationships, but have you given yourself the time to put your experience into perspective? Or have you given yourself the time that you need to recuperate, to rest? It says that you've done a lot. Also, have you considered all of the work that you've done? You know, have you considered like your level of intelligence and knowledge? You know, are you selling yourself short, right? Because a person who needs to be around other people all the time could be selling themselves short of themselves. See what I mean? Right? There's so many things to consider that have nothing to do with anyone else. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the King of Swords, right? Because the Four of Swords is really like a minor arcana version of the King of Swords, right? Here we go, bam, you can see it here, look. I need to really focus on me. What are my goals? Right? I'm gaining perspective. Now that I gained that perspective, I'm in this Mars position. I got clothes on now. Look. Oh, wow. Look at this color scheme. Right? From here to here. So this is also like, you know, in the Mars position, this is saying that the retrograde is also a time to kind of like come up with some ideas, or, you know, just gain perspective, gather your thoughts, right? And it's also a time to kind of like write, play word games, doing things like that. Mental strength, strengthening the brain, strengthening the mind, maybe listening to things that kind of challenge your perspective. Challenging the brain, challenging the mind, listening to things that, challenge your perspective and make you kind of think, So reading, looking at like some historic documentaries, that type of thing, science documentaries, something that will actually just kind of like bring your mind into, a fresh topic, right? So that's what we're dealing with the King of Swords, right? Fresh topics, fresh, images, that type of thing. Coming up with showing something in a new way. What's the new implementation? You see what I mean? With the King of Swords being here, it's a little bit of Capricorn and it's also 2/3 of Aquarius. So it's like, what are we working towards, and how are we being seen and how are we showing something, and what makes it different this time, right? I feel like a lot of times we can really tap into our individuality and how it pertains to like society as a whole, and we can really like be in that energy, be in that vibe, be in that mood. But then sometimes we come out of it. How can you sustain that, right? How can you sustain that sense of strong identity? How can you sustain a strong sense of identity, right? It's through being authentic and also, just being, you will be an individual by being authentic. You know what I mean? You don't have to try to be an individual, right? Because it's literally like an amalgamation of everything that has come together, your experiences and the moment now that they all share together, because it's really about the moment now. Anyway, let's look at the Venus position. It's in 3 parts. That's great. I knew it was going to be like that. Okay, I knew the 9 of Cups was going to come up. It's the wish card, right? And the 9 of Cups is talking about, it's future oriented, but it's also about the moment because it's Jupiter, right? And Pisces is kind of like talking about the moment that we're in, but it's a moment of shifting. It's a moment that things begin to shift and kind of like, turn the corner, or we get to the other side of something emotionally with Jupiter being in Pisces. So that's good. So we feel good. We feel satisfied. We feel like we've learned what it was that we were meant to kind of like see or accept, right? Our experience has shown us compassion too. Some of us, we realize how, we have kind of like been through a lot, but we've been lucky, right? We've been saved sometimes. And that's something that you just have to be appreciative of, right? You've seen your way through things, right? And that actually gives you hope for the future. But it's like right now is really the moment that is actually going to take you into your future, right? So make sure that you are healing right now, continuously, and you are doing all of those things that you need to do. You are constantly discovering, having a new emotional experience that changes the way that you see the world, Powerful emotional experiences that are changing the way that you see the world. And it's changing the way that you see yourself too, and the ways that you thought that other people saw you, even in the past, right? And it would have been great if you didn't have those types of holdups, setbacks, emotional illusions, right? Also, it's like how you see yourself shouldn't matter anymore, right? Because you are literally like, you're like the vessel. You're the vessel that is going through the experience. Without you, there would be no experience to have. So you should definitely be appreciative of everything that you are, everything that you are not. Okay. Because that is real. You shouldn't focus on what you're not. You should try to improve what you aren't, and or what you just aren't the strongest at. Like, let's try to strengthen our weaknesses, but let's keep going with our strengths. Don't forget about those, right? And don't let anybody else try to convince you or, to forget your strengths. Which they can't really do that, right? You just better remember your strengths and your talents and your gifts and all of that. And what it is that you have to bring to the table. But you have to realize that you have something. Sometimes it's really hard. Some people are privileged, some people are not. You know what I mean? I was not. Okay? But it really is the determination. It really is the determination to get somewhere, okay? That actually gets you somewhere. Anyway, what do you want to accomplish? What are your goals? How realistic are they? How can you make them realistic? But still make them fun, creative, explorative, and learn something. Right? It's like, do what you love, right? Also, some of you need a vacation and an escape, right? Look, as I turn over the world card, which is the earth, and it is related to, Sagittarius, because in esoteric astrology, the earth, because we give the earth to a sign in esoteric astrology, rules Sagittarius. But it's also the hierarchical ruler of Gemini. So it's talking about new connections, new experiences, travel perhaps, safe travel, definitely. Okay? So if any of you are traveling, you need to definitely take all of the necessary precautions to make sure that you are safe and other people around you are safe. We've got to pay attention, and that's what the world card wants us to do as well, right? It does say that we have actually paid attention to something, right? We've paid attention, we've learned the lessons, and we've overcome some obstacles, because it is talking about transmuting energy, right? Transmuting the lesson, us overcoming ourselves, our identity. It's a new identity within the same person, you know what I mean? Like that type of thing. Or it's a more mature, seasoned version of something that already existed. It's like the elements were there for the diamond to form, and then the diamond formed over a long period of time. It was never like the diamond to begin with, right? So that's like what this card is talking about. It says that you're ready for a new phase. Yes, definitely. Because the Three of Swords says that something wasn't written in stone, And is my time done here, Meaning in a relationship, in a job, in an environment that you may feel like no longer appreciates you, or, no longer appreciates you. Or maybe you no longer appreciate the environment. That type of thing, right? And this is talking about maybe, being distracted by the ways that something is unfair, or being intimidated by something that is unfair, right? Or something that might be distracting you because it's unfair, right? And this is also are you able to see and feel what is obvious? It's almost kind of like you never thought you'd get here with this Three of Swords. You never thought you'd get here, but now here we are. And this is the moment to not be intimidated, not feel guilty about what you know you need to do, right? This is also detaching emotionally from a job or from an experience that has carried you through a certain window in time, right? It also is just asking you to accept when something is over, you know? Accept when something is over with this Three of Swords. Don't be intimidated by the ending when it's the ending, you know? And it really is not like a death card. It's just saying that the sun has gone down on something and it's time to move on. With the Three of Swords, it's a responsibility to relate to an experience that may not be, you know, candy canes and you know, bubbles and fun games, right? Anymore, you know, it's not fun anymore. That's what the Three of Swords says, right? Similar to the Five of Swords, because the Five of Swords really does say it's not fun anymore, but the Three of Swords says, I don't think that I am finding pleasure or harmony in this situation anymore, right? That type of thing. It also could be like what you have learned from your relationships, you know, because Saturn is the karmic teacher. And, you know, it's like you will never forget the lessons that you learned from some very karmic relationships. Which is nice, right? Because we don't want to forget that. But you have the World next to the Three of Swords, so that's good. You know what I mean? I think I showed you this card. Damn, it's a 3. And this is a 3 too, right? So that's something that you needed. You had to go, your experience had to be this way for you to learn something that you needed to. And it was for character. It wasn't like so that we could be like these people and that place and that thing and I hate it this much, because it's like, who are you now after that? How do you identify with yourself now after when you are removed, when you are detached from that? How do you see yourself, you know? Because you don't have to identify with it anymore. You see what I mean? Let's see what your last card is. Yes. Right. Like I said, you don't have to identify with it anymore. And what's the card that came up? A card that talks about identification. A card that talks about the power of self. The power of now, living in the moment, you know, strong connections that we have to ourselves. The Magician. The first house is Aries, and it's also on an esoteric level ruled by Mercury. It's all here in this card, right? And this is you using your head, right? Challenging yourself with having a new experience, right? And going with that, taking risks, you know? You are responsible for change that you want to see in your life, right? Here it is. It's saying you were born, you will die, everything in between, you know, as above, so below, right? How are you inspired, you know? And what are you convinced of, right? This is using your ego, using your talents, your gifts, your skills, right? To connect with your environment in a way that is going to bring about, you know, real change in your life. This is asking you to think about who you are, know that, and go with that, you know? Okay, I think I'm gonna end it there because I'm almost like out of time and I don't want to make 4 videos for this. Like, share, and subscribe, comment on the video, follow me on Instagram, it's Providence Tarot there. Look, the plane's going over. Happy Aquarius season, happy birthday Aquarians. Oh, my personal account is NYC Kendrick on Instagram. And if you want to get a reading from me, you can email providencetarotkendrick@gmail.com. If you're waiting for a reading from me, I'm getting to them, I promise you. It literally took like an entire 24 hours for me to upload one of the videos the other day, but that's retrograde for you, right? And the full moon was happening at the same time. You will not believe what has happened and what I've experienced.